Welcome back to Casual Tech Review, and welcome to part 2 of our PC Flipping 101 series, PC Flipping for Beginners. In the first video, we covered how to plan out your build, make sure you have everything all organized. Part 2, which is this video right here, we're going to talk about how you identify good deals, negotiate with sellers, and make sure that you're getting good prices for your parts for your PC flips. If you haven't watched part 1 of the series, I encourage you to go ahead and watch that one first. I'll link it up here in the corner. That one is where we talk about how to plan out your build, determine your prices, and set your build budget. Once those steps are done, it's on to finding the right deals and buying the parts that you're going to need to complete your build. Once you know the parts that you need to complete your build, you're going to need to answer the question of, am I going to get these parts used or am I going to get them new? And I break them down pretty simply in these categories. I almost always get the case, the CPU cooler, the storage drive, and any accessories like Wi-Fi antennas or backplates or anything like that. I usually will get all of those things new. I want them to be in good shape and looking good, and so that's why I typically do that. When you're talking about used parts, I'm generally looking at the CPU, GPU, motherboard, RAM, and power supply. I'll go either way on. The CPU and the GPU, those are, depending on how good of a deal you get, those are absolutely going to determine what your profit margin is. So if you can get a really good price on those two parts, you really don't need to get too crazy on the other ones as far as keeping the cost super low, because again, that is where your margin is going to come from, your CPU and your GPU. When it comes to buying parts, there's pretty much 3 or 4 main sources that I use to get all my parts. Facebook Marketplace is where I'm going to go to look for local deals and people that I'm going to meet up with to buy a part directly from the seller. You can get some of your absolute best deals on Facebook Marketplace. You are also going to find some people are totally unreasonable and difficult to deal with as well. So it is kind of a give and take there. If you're looking for brand new parts, Amazon and Newegg are a really good place to go. You can typically find anything you need there for a pretty decent price. And then eBay. eBay is, again, another wild card. You can get some really great deals on auctions and even buy it now with some parts you can get really good deals on. So those are the 4 main sources that I use for buying new and used parts. When you're buying parts online, you really don't have to interact with people too much, so that's pretty straightforward. I'm not going to talk about that. But the area which I've learned a lot of lessons, some the hard way, is dealing with people or learning to deal with people on Facebook Marketplace. So I've got a couple general rules of thumb that I use when I'm reaching out to people trying to pay them less than they're asking for their computer parts. So first thing, I always reach out with just a kind of a greeting of, something like, good morning, good afternoon. I'm interested in whatever you're selling here. Is it in good working condition? And I basically just want to open some dialogue with them and also make sure that they're telling me that it's working. Usually people will respond pretty quick to something like that if they're going to respond. Some don't respond at all. And then the next thing I'll ask them is, are you flexible on price? I don't want to come at somebody and just lowball them on something that they think is probably worth more than it is. So I make sure I prep them for that question first, ask them if they're flexible on price. If they say yes, like this guy, then I'll make my offer and we'll go from there, and they'll either take it or they won't. If they're not going to come down to a price that is acceptable to me, then I'm going to walk away, just like I did right here. If it's not a good deal and I'm not going to be able to make a good profit using that part, then I'll just move on. You can't feel pressure to make every deal that you find just because you've talked to the person or whatever. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work, and keep it moving. Another method that I've used, which has had some success, is if somebody posts something that's a screaming good price, I'm going to come right at them with a strong cash offer and offer to meet them as soon as possible. These items will go very quickly. I've seen some things on Facebook Marketplace sell in just a couple of hours. So letting them know that I'm available with cash and ready to meet. Lots of times you can close a deal that way, like I did here on this computer. It was a full PC with some great components and specs, and I was able to get it for $200 and turn it into a great flip. So this is also a tactic you can use that people will often go for, the offer of quick cash right now. You're definitely going to have to feel out what you're comfortable with as far as your communication style is when you're making offers on things. Learn from your experience. But if there's three general tips I could give you, they are: number one, always be polite, no matter how ridiculous the other person is. I'm always polite, and I've never regretted that. Number two, make sure you communicate well and just explain to them where you're coming from. And if you're not going to deal with them, then just let them know, hey, I'm not interested or whatever. And number three, don't feel like you have to take every deal. Again, as you saw earlier, I offered the guy 90 bucks. He said 100. I said I'd think about it, but that was my way of kind of putting him on the back burner to see if he would come down on his price. 100 was just too much for me, and I wasn't going to do that deal. As we wrap up this episode, here's a couple examples of some good and some bad communication experiences that I've had on Facebook Marketplace. So here is two messages from two guys who tried to buy from me as the seller, and we came to an agreement, and then they ended up changing their minds. And you can see both of them here. They were just very upfront. Hey, I won't be able to find a better deal. Hey, I found a better deal somewhere. Great, absolutely. I'm going to be polite to them, and I'm going to say, enjoy your new computer. Let me know if I can ever be of assistance to you, because that is absolutely how you want to handle yourself. Conversely, you can take a look at my conversation with this guy Jacob here, and I'll just kind of flash it up on the screen. But we made an agreement to sell a computer. We picked a payment method. We picked a time and a location. And I explained to him that I was going to have to run around a little bit, and it was a bit of a drive for me to get there. So then I started driving. I was on my way there, told him I was going to be on time, and I'm like 30 minutes from my house, and he says I won't be there. So I said, what's going on? He says, hey, I found a better deal. Now, you can see with the other two guys, the last two messages I showed you, that's fine. Like, people don't owe me anything. If they're going to buy from somebody else, I'm happy for them. I really don't care. But this guy knew that I had packed everything up, driven half hour from my house, and just decided to tell me when I texted him. So I kind of let him know, hey, man, that's not how you should treat people. And please just enjoy your new computer, but make sure you communicate a little bit better. Lastly, this is a short little exchange I had with a guy when I was trying to buy 3060 from him. He had it listed for 200 bucks. I offered him 160. He got mad about that. Asked me if I could find places on the internet where I could get it for less than 200, but if I could have done that, I just wouldn't have messaged him. But anyway, so I apologized. Hey, man, I'm not trying to offend you. Just, trying to make a deal here. He went on to call me some names and things like that, and that was it. So he took it very personal, but I don't let it bother me. I just kind of keep on moving. That was a quick little down and dirty, short couple of minutes about how to have some success once you've planned out your build, now making contact with people and buying your parts. Please follow the advice that I've learned, a lot of it the hard way. Make sure that you're securing good deals for yourself, and then just make sure that you're acting like a mature person on the internet. You'll find things go much better for you that way. I really appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate your feedback on the first video. I am looking forward to seeing what you guys think about this one. Absolutely have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you in part 3.